Hi everyone, it's Amy here from the blog I Think Therefore I Teach. Welcome to the next criminology video. This is for assessment criteria 1.3. So let's get going. I'm just going to make myself smaller so I can share with you my PowerPoint. That should be good enough. Okay, so assessment criteria 1.3. This is explain the consequences of unreported crime. Within this unit, you need to be able to explain the consequences of unreported crime and give detailed, relevant examples. As you know now from the course, examples throughout are key to those top level bands. There are, I think it's 7 in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. There is 8 in total that you will talk about and you will talk through, giving examples for each. And so the rest of this PowerPoint and presentation, I will work through each one of these individually. You need to be able to define and describe each of these terms. You also need to be able to give a relevant example for each. So, first one, the ripple effect. The ripple effect describes how the impact of a crime can spread beyond the immediate victim. So, for example, a victim of rape has a family who also be affected. So think of it like a ripple in a pond. You drop the pebble in, that's the crime itself, but all the ripples are everybody else that's affected. So you have the immediate victim, so for example, the rape victim, but then you also have the ripples of their family. You then have the police officers that have to take that report, and then how maybe that affects their family, etc. So you've always got these ripples of different people, and then obviously there's statistics within society and society's involvement with everything. If it goes to a jury, for example, the jury then affected. So it's this idea of the ripple effect. So a crime is not just the immediate individual, it's the ripple of everybody else that gets involved as well. The next one is cultural impact. Something can be legal in one country and not in another. And so with my class, we discussed all the different examples they could think of. So for example, there are things that are legal or illegal here, such as paedophilia. In this country, it's illegal to be a paedophile. So anybody 16 or below is classed as a child. So that means that anybody 18 and above is legally classed as a paedophile. So that is what our country law is. However, in other countries, as soon as a girl becomes a woman, so starts to menstruate, she's then a woman and can be married. So this might be as young as 11, for example. So an 11-year-old can marry a far older man, and then this is culturally acceptable. This is legally acceptable. So there are different laws in different countries. There may be different attitudes towards the same action between people of different cultures. This leads to unreported crime. Or people tend to turn a blind eye. So to turn a blind eye to certain customs that they view are alien to their own, things they don't know about, things they don't understand. So they turn a blind eye because it's just alien to them. They don't understand it. They might feel it's not their place to intervene. There is a separate issue though as well with cultural impact. If a crime goes unreported, an area can also suffer. So you unreport it so you don't report it because you don't really understand it, you feel alienated from it, so you don't report it, or because you think it's absolutely fine. You know, it's something that might be illegal or might be a crime, but you think it's fine, so again, you don't report it. But then what happens is things like drug dealing, vandalism, this leads into worse crimes. So you don't report drug dealing because you think, oh, well, there's maybe bigger issues, or it might be something you don't understand, you don't want to get involved with. But then this can then lead to worse crimes potentially in an area. If the culture of an area gets worse, the crime rates go up. And this links to one that's one of the examples later on. The example that we looked at with our class is FGM, or female genital mutilation. Now, a very, very tough example, very, very tough area, but this is something that is linked with culture. Some cultures accept it, our country and our culture does not. So This is traditional in some cultures. It is removing partly or completely of the external genitalia of females, of girls and young women for non-medical reasons. This is not a medical thing. There is no medical reasons for this. It is purely a cultural, traditional practice. It is illegal in this country and in many other countries as well. However, it still goes on. It still exists in a lot of minority cultures, even within the UK. So this may go unreported. It's quite a common one to go unreported, certainly because of the huge delicacy of the issue itself. But it's been known that it doesn't often go beyond the members of the community, and often these members of these communities are where it's culturally accepted, so they don't report it because it's acceptable within the community that are practicing it. So it's done in secret. However, some members of the communities have spoken out about FGM as a violation of women's human rights. Also, professionals such as doctors and teachers are to be vigilant and identify any students at risk or any people at risk or any suspicions. Obviously, this is quite hard from a teacher's perspective. This is not something that you can easily detect potentially. Certainly, if a student is off for a length of time, you would then automatically ring home. Obviously, parents aren't then, or family aren't going to say it if it's a culturally accepted thing for them. So it's very hard for teachers. Whereas for a doctor, obviously, they have maybe potentially a more intimate relationship with their patients, so they may be able to see or spot the signs of this, but it's important to be vigilant within these. But this is certainly a very good example for cultural impact and unreported crime. Decriminalisation. Laws are frequently altered. Laws are not static. They're not structured. They're not stable. They don't, laws are continuously changing, being updated, modernised, new ones coming in, old ones going out, etc. Laws often can't be enforced because many people accept certain crimes. Many people may engage in activity, or even very few, therefore report it. So it's very hard to enforce a law if people aren't, one, reporting it, and two, engage in the activity. You can't then do something against all of these people. So obviously a recent example of this is all the different laws that have come in around COVID, around bubbles, around how many people you can actually be with and not be with. This is so hard to enforce. One, because police have very little time, but also because a lot of people are still breaking this law. They don't want to report it. So they don't report if people are in larger groups, or they also engage with it themselves. So it's very, very hard to enforce this. There are still laws against certain offences, but the punishments are reduced because the little police time, money and effort are put into the perpetrators. Sometimes the laws are even changed to make the action legal, or such offences are decriminalised, so they're no longer criminal. So they're against the law still, but they are punishable. They don't punish you for committing that crime. One of the potential examples that you can use for this is the smoking or the distribution of cannabis, of marijuana. So this is something that a lot of people publicly do. This is something that people publicly do not report because it's something that they don't understand, or they do themselves. So this has become one of the things where it's still illegal, but the amount of police time that goes into people that smoke marijuana is limited, even to the point, I think it was on maybe a previous PowerPoint or one coming up in the future, where I think it was County Durham has even said they will not punish the smoking of marijuana. Legal change. Crimes can go unreported because they are not regarded as crimes. So homosexuality, this used to be against the law. It used to be against the law in the 50s and before then to be a homosexual. However, a lot of people then stood out against this. They campaigned against this. They did not report it, and so there had to be a decision that was made. As the stigma towards certain crimes, so the stigma towards homosexuality, for example, reduced, legal change can occur. So homosexuality has been legalised in Britain in 1967, as long as there's only two men involved and behind closed doors. Again, People want to legalise it, but they don't want to see or hear about it. But 1967, that's still potentially your parents' generation. We're talking about very recent changes still. So we're talking about laws where it was illegal to be in a homosexual relationship. So this shows how much impact society can have on laws and how legal change can happen. Abortion as well was only legalised in 1967 as well, so a good year for law changes. Police prioritisation. The police prioritise certain crimes because they have limited resources such as funding, staffing and time. They may prioritise certain crimes if there is a local concern about something. So, for example, if there was a spate of car thefts or burglaries, this then draws the police's attention and they do something about it more on a local scale. Or the Home Office. So again, you will have a look at the Home Office. I think it's in either 1.5 or 1.6. You look at the Home Office statistics. So they raise attention to this, such as knife or gang crime. Some crimes which are difficult to prosecute may not be prioritised, such as historic child abuse or rape. So historic child abuse, that means that people as adults coming out and saying about child abuse when they were children, or rape. Now, unfortunately, whilst these are two such horrendous crimes, it's very, very hard for police to necessarily prosecute because there's no physical traces quite often. There's often not many witnesses or witnesses that will come forward, so it's very hard to prosecute these things. So it doesn't maybe get the priority that they deserve. Some crimes which have a lot of public acceptance are often not prioritised as well. So cannabis, oh yes, there we go. In County Durham, police have indicated that they won't pursue small scale, that should be scale, not scal, small scale cannabis use or cannabis growing because it's not a priority. Next one then is unrecorded crime. These are defined as crimes reported to the police but not recorded as offences. This means that they are unlikely to be investigated into any alleged crimes. The more serious the crime, the more serious the consequences. So why would police not record crimes down? Now, for me, this is, from teaching the course, I find this one very, very surprising. That people have actually gone to the police, rung the police, or reported a crime, but then they don't record it. Isn't that information still relevant? Isn't that information still important? Are we so short of police time that we don't even record certain things down? I can understand it if the records just the reports just telltale or gossip or something. I get that, but certain crimes, even if they're, you're maybe not going to continue looking into them or there's no way of prosecuting, they're still important to be recorded. Somebody needs to be putting these statistics together. It's important that these are known to the public. So why do they not maybe record them? They may not believe the story or have enough evidence to secure a conviction. The victim may refuse to press charges, or they may not want to spend the time and resources investigating. Now, I understand the victim may refuse to press charges. That's fair enough. Chances are if you refuse to press charges, would you even report it in the first place? Not sure. But then the other two, the first one, certainly, there's not enough evidence for a secure eviction or they don't believe the story. That seems very subjective to the person or the police officer taking the record. What they might judge as not a believable story, somebody else might judge as believable. So that seems very subjective, does that? And then they may not want to spend the time and resources investigating it, but it's still a crime. Someone still broke the law. Someone's still gone out of their way to report it, either by phone call or going into a police station. Do police really have that right not to want to spend time, or is it that the time and the money is so limited? Who makes these decisions? So the impacts of not recording these crimes, the impacts on the victim, it's a lack of justice. If you've gone out of your way to report something and then nothing happens, then there's a lack of justice for you. The offender's still at large, so the offender is still out there, potentially doing the crime again and again. And the crimes may continue themselves. If other people know they got away with it, then I might as well do it. Again, that might be why things like marijuana, or we're not going to press charges, we're not going to write it down, we're not going to go knock on their doors and say anything. Then someone else think, oh, well, they're doing it, I might as well do it as well. You know, they had a party with so many people during lockdown, nothing happened to them, I'm just going to do it myself. You know, people start to think that way, so the crimes then continue. And a loss of faith in the police. Oh, well, I'm not going to report it because, well, they never did anything last time, so I'm just not going to report it. So then again, that snowballs into why people then don't report these crimes if they don't think anything's going to happen. On society as a whole, we're tolerating certain behaviours that are then negative. This leads to the broken windows scenario, and again, I'll look at this on the next slide. Increasing crime rates, lack of true knowledge about these crime statistics. So again, you'll look at crime statistics, I think in 1.6. So the statistics actually aren't accurate if most or quite a lot of the reports are going unrecorded. And this then becomes known as the dark figure of crime. This is something that we talked about on one of the previous PowerPoint slides, 1.1 or 1.2. The dark figure of crime refers to the unrecorded crime and other crimes that happen that no one ever knows about because they either weren't a witness, they weren't reported, or they weren't recorded by the police. Cultural change then. Cultural change can be a consequence of unreported crime in various ways. So your change of culture actually happens. The crime can become a way of life if they are accepted by the community and reported. So illegal video downloading. People don't report illegal video downloading. A lot of people do this. It's still illegal. It's illegal to do this, but people still do it. And therefore there's a culture change. It's accepted. This is just something that you know people do. Norms and values also held by a community may change faster than the law itself. So things like illegal video downloading is acceptable now, it's still against the law, but culturally people just go along with it. When an area gets run down, the culture of an area changes and more crimes are committed. Now, this is known as the broken windows theory. Now, I do recommend you checking this out. It's very, very interesting in this theory. It's basically the idea, there's very little to back it up though, so it's more just interesting rather than accurate necessarily. The broken windows theory is the idea that in a community, it is important to mend broken windows straight away, because if people see broken windows, you then see boarded up buildings, you then see vandalism, you then see litter, you then see drugs or vagrancy, etc., etc. And so with one broken window, this then escalates. And so the community, because they accept the broken window, this then gets worse, the crimes get worse, the area gets worse, etc. And so the theory is that you should mend broken windows as soon as they happen. As I said, the evidence supporting this or backing it up is minimal. However, the theory itself does make a lot of sense. Finally, procedural change. Concerns about underreported crimes have led to attempts to encourage people to report and make the process easier, but then it's not surprising that people don't report crimes if they report crimes and then they're not recorded. So maybe you need to look at the unrecorded crimes as well as an issue. But this helps people to report it. So this promotes people in reporting these crimes. Traditionally, you had to go to the police station or ring 999. Now, you can report in many different ways. There are Crime Stoppers, there are victim supports, there are various apps you can use, there's various phone numbers that you can use. There is programs, things like Crime Watch ended in 2017, but there are various programs you can contact and communicate with to share your stories or share your worries or share your concerns or your crimes, etc. So there's an awful lot available now in order to help people and to promote reporting of crimes. Also now you can report crimes anonymously. It was before you had to give your name and your details, and obviously that made people very uncomfortable, whereas now you can give anonymous information or anonymous tips. So that's all 8 of the different types of reasons and explanations behind your ideas of unreported crimes. So you do need to know each of them. You need to give examples of each of them. You need to be able to work through them in your exam. And hopefully you have found this of use. The last little bit on that slide, there are also specialist police officers now trained in things like hate crimes and rape. So people now know that they will specialist maybe is the wrong word, but they will see people specifically trained within those areas. That will give people a certain amount of comfort that their case is taken seriously. As I said, I hope you found this useful. If you do have any questions, please pop them underneath or get in touch via the blog, and I'm happy to help. I'm going to crack straight on now with 1.4, so I'm going to do 1.4 now as well, and then get them so that you can access that one as well. And then hopefully 1.5 and 1.6 will be coming to you shortly. Thanks ever so much, everybody. See you all soon. Bye for now.